MSNBC. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody. Reverend Al told you personally. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Talk to you tomorrow.
Keeping it real. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily those of WGCV 620 AM, its staff or management, or our parent company, Glory Communications Incorporated.
Get ready. Armstrong Williams is up next on WGCV 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams.
If you earn $60,000 a year or less, the Benefit Bank of South Carolina can prepare and electronically file your taxes, help you file back taxes up to 2 years, or apply for FAFSA, all for free. Using the Benefit Bank of South Carolina website, you can even file on your own. You will receive your refund in 7 to 10 days. To find a Benefit Bank counselor near you or to file online, visit our website at tbbsc.org or call 800-726-8774.
Every day, you can help good things happen. Claudia, a local health worker in Nicaragua, helped save 6 children from pneumonia. Rosina in Bangladesh helped save 10 children from diarrhea. Aster in Ethiopia helped save 20 from malaria. And Salif in Mali helped save 30 from the effects of malnutrition. Help one, save many. Visit goodgoes.org to find all the ways you can help the good go further. Brought to you by Save the Children and the Ad Council.
I'm Ed Smart, father of a child who was abducted.
I'm John Walsh. Like Ed, I also know the terror of having a child who was kidnapped. But now we have wonderful technology to aid in this battle.
It's called the Amber Alert. It's an early notification system to the public when every second counts.
Amber Alert is a partnership. We want to thank you, the public, broadcasters, transportation, and law enforcement. Amber Alert really works.
This is Al Sharpton. I'm keeping it real on WGCV 620 AM, KC, Columbia, where knowledge is power.
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Don't curse, speak English. Armstrong. Virtuous society. Armstrong. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong. Elevate your mind. Armstrong. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers. Armstrong. The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. On one of those rare occasions, I just had too much fun with the football and the pregame show and all the good things that come with it. I just had way too much fun, and I am paying the price today, if I must say so myself. I must tell you, there is no other, I don't know if anybody, can anybody tell me any other time in the history of pro football where you had nail-biting playoffs games, down to the wire Super Bowl? I mean, this was just the best and the finest hour of the NFL. Why is it that pro football continues to remain well ahead of everyone else as the top sport in America? It's not too long of a season. It's pretty cut and dry to understand. It's just so exciting. This yesterday was so exciting. Oh, it was so exciting. Yes, the recent Super Bowl was so exciting. It was just, seems like it was only yesterday. But it was fantastic. I must tell you, I have never had so much fun. I am just a diehard football fan. I wish the Cowboys were in the Super Bowl, but I did root for the Giants. Yes, I did. I did root for the Giants. And you know what? It is across the board. Men, women, young, old, love pro football. It crossed every stereotype in the world. Everybody just loves it. Basketball is too long. Okay, just too long a season. And tennis, I love tennis. I must admit, I love tennis. So, listen. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. In the first half hour, it's just me, a little open mic, feeling a little sluggish today. Have you ever felt a little sluggish? Yeah, I'm feeling a little sluggish today. Had a little too much fun, and was out of town. Yes, I was out of town a little bit. Having a little fun. You know, you got to take time to smell the roses in life. You just can't work all the time. I really believe in a complete and balanced life. Got to have a little fun. Got to have the family. Got to have your friends. You just got to have it. So here's the question that I want to ask our audience. It's a very important question. There is no question that the war drums are beating towards Iran. There's no doubt in my mind that Israel, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when Israel will attack Iran. You know they have the blessings of the United States. There's no doubt about that. And you know China and Russia will side with Iran. They have important interest there. Intense blasts that echoed through the Syrian city of Homs today were just a part of the latest violence ravaging parts of the country as world leaders saw a new strategy to end the deadly fighting. You know, how can that fighting continue in Syria and we hypocrites could justify going into Libya? What's the difference? We just went into Libya, just took Gaddafi out. What's the difference? At least 56 deaths were reported today by opposition group, most of them in Homs, 2 days after China and Russia voted a UN Security Council draft resolution that would have demanded President Bashar al-Assad stop the violence and seek a solution to the 11-month crisis. They chose to side with the Syrian regime and implicitly leave the door open to further abuses. You know, it is amazing what's going on in the world, from the Middle East to around the world. Have you ever seen times like these before? Have you ever seen times like these? Do you think we're justified in going into conflict with Iran? It's going to happen. It's there. The Israelis are saying a couple of months. The United States is saying we have 9 months. The Israelis are going to win out. They're chomping at the bit. They see Iran as a threat. If you listen to some of the things that Khomeini was saying this weekend, you'd feel the same way. It's about self-preservation. Now, they want to just dump them in the sea and never be heard from again. How do you not fight to defend yourself? How do you not fight? Should the United States be involved in the conflict in Iran? Should Israel defend herself and we stay out of the way? Is it our business? Should we help our ally Israel? How far should we go? What should we do? What should be our role? Do you think it's worth getting into an all-out war over the conflict between Israel and the Middle East and the Arabs? What do you think? Jacob, welcome to the show.
Mr. Williams.
Jacob, how are you, brother?
All right. Just want to reply to your comment today about the war drums beating.
They are beating.
Iran. They are beating, but
there's no doubt about that.
It won't be anything large scale from us. I mean, I think the Arab League, everything I read and heard, wants us to put pressure on Iran. But I think the Middle East had their fill of American boots on the ground. So, I mean, and Israel can do what they've been doing right now. I think they're the ones behind these scientists getting into these explosive cars and these nuclear facilities, blowing up and the computers going crazy and things of that nature. So as long as we can keep that up, I don't see an issue. Again, when you talked about China and Russia, they have interest in the oil and other interest there. So as long as we don't interfere with that, we can continue doing what we're doing covertly. I mean, you hear these Republicans talking about going in overtly and things of that nature, but the American people don't have the stomach for it. I mean, 10 years of continuous war is longer than anybody that's ever lived in this country has seen, and nobody's really up for it. So, I think the issue is going to be whether or not we can continue to set Iran back by damaging their facilities and taking out their personnel.
Should we take the nuclear facility out?
Yes, we should, but it's not going to be done in a large-scale way. There'll be sabotage. There may be a cruise missile strike or possibly even a drone coming in from Iran. Coming in from Iraq into Iran, since they're neighboring countries. But it won't be a mass, military takeover of the country. I mean, to be honest with you, the people at the top are the ones we have an issue with. The average population in Iran is under 30. I should say the majority of the population is under 30. They're young people. They want to reach out. They want to connect. If you remember last year during the Arab Spring, they were out there protesting. They was trying to fight for freedom. So we got friends there that we can work with, but it's about getting rid of the mullahs and getting rid of Ahmadinejad in a responsible way that doesn't disrespect the Muslim race, because that's another issue.
Well, listen. Jacob, thank you for calling. I hope you feel better with that cold. I can hear it, and yes. You got to take good care of it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thomas, you have a question?
I just want to make a comment, Mr. Williams. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you.
America's already knee-deep and complicit and joined at the hip with the Israelis. They are a major purchaser of American weapons, intelligence, and the most frightening aspect of it to me is that war, the results of it will not be on the Israeli and the Iranian soil as much as on the continent of Africa. Iran is a great influence economically, politically, as well as through their religion in that area. So it's going to be. I don't like to be dramatic about it, but it's going to be a big deal. Now the thing about these people are that they think of themselves as a warrior nation, and historically nobody just runs over these people. And I hate to see it, but it's a foregone. I think it's been,
Well, some of my friends that are there on the ground have told me that it's not so much that if the Israelis or the Americans go in with some covert operation to take out these nuclear weapons, that the Iranians have specifically linked these nuclear weapons to their most holiest sites, so that if they do disintegrate in the nuclear weapon area, they will also disintegrate some of the holy sites to make the people feel as though it's a religious war against their faith and make it personal so they can have public opinion on their side. So,
as was done with the Iraqi war.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Listen, Thomas. Appreciate you. Thank you, and we'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com. For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Amanda, age 3. Carlos, age 9.
An abducted child is everyone's child.
Jada, age 14.
To get free Amber Alerts on your cell phone, go to wirelessamberalerts.org. A child is calling for help. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, this is true. That's exactly what happened in Iraq. They intentionally set up for many of their religious sites to detonate as well, to make sure that the people became very emotional. They see this as an attack on their faith, and exactly what they're doing again. These are interesting times that we're in. I must tell you, I thought both our callers made some excellent points. How far do we go? What are we fighting for in? How do we measure success? And you can understand Israel, who's definitely operating out of fear. Somebody wants to see them pushed out into the sea. And this is as old as time. There's nothing new under the sun. But how do you react and respond to someone who is determined to destroy your way of life? You have to destroy yourself. But what role should the United States play? That's the question we ask. What role, if any, should the United States play? Should it be an overwhelming role? A limited role? What kind of role should they play? Give us a call. 1-866-620-6620, 733-5620. And also, I just want to tell you about an exciting new sponsor of the Armstrong Williams Show. You can own a piece of paradise in the Nassau, Bahamas. Plots of land between 8,000 and 20,000 square feet. That's right, right in beautiful Lifer Hills with the beautiful beaches yet to be built. And the prices range from $140,000 to $300,000. I mean, an incredible price. You can just go, if you want more information on it, you can go to info@armstrongwilliams.com, or you could call the Hills Limited directly at 242-677-3120 or 21. That's 242-677-3120 or 21, and just tell them Armstrong Williams sent you. So why? I mean, I tell you, I consider myself a God-fearing man, and my religion has never, to the point, has made me violent or want to hurt someone, or to make me think I'm better than someone. And I know this question has been asked so many times. Well, why is there so much conflict in religion? Why is there so much conflict in serving God? Why have so many people been killed and maimed and persecuted in the name of God? Why? Why does this continue if it's something that's supposed to bring people together? To me, it's easy to get along with people. It's easy to be kind. It takes so much energy to be mean and rude to people. It does. But, sometimes people like that kind of reputation, that they call that being tough and they don't play. But, it all depends on the circumstances, I guess. Our phone line's open, 733-5620, 1-866-620-6620. What are we to do with Syria and Iran? Can we reason with them? No one is being spared in the Syrian violence. No one. No place is sacred. No place. Many of these people have made their peace because they believe in what they're fighting for to the point where they're willing to die for it. Have you found something that you're willing to die for? You're willing to risk it all, to have it all? Are you willing to do that? I know everyone wonders, where is all this going? I mean, is this Armageddon? We keep hearing the A word. But I tell you, these are some serious times that we live in. And whether or not people believe there's a God or not is a question mark. I think a lot of it has to do with inertia. I really do. But I feel bad for Israel. I think Israel is in oftentimes a no-win situation. The United States has no choice but to support her. I don't see how we could abandon Israel. I just don't. Does that mean that we should get in a war conflict? How far does that support go? And does it draw the rest of our allies in? I know there's a saying that there's a time and place for everything. But when is the time for us to attack Iran? When is it? Or should we attack them? They're a sovereign nation. Do you actually think that the nuclear build-up that they have going on in their country, that they would use it against the United States? I don't put much behind. I just don't put much behind people who are trying to hold on to power. I just don't. It is amazing what people will do in the name of power, money, and sex. Just imagine what has been done. This is an interesting time that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you're following the Middle East closely, but I got to tell you something. It's a pot of cake. It's a volcano that can erupt at any moment. Any moment. It really is. We're really seeing some intense time in our times. I know some would say you read about it, but there's nothing like this. I'm telling you. There's nothing like it. And all of us have seen different chapters to this thing we call life. And then President Obama made it clear yesterday that he deserves a second term in office. Do you believe the president has earned your vote for a second term in office? What unfinished work is there for him to do? What is left? Do you think there would be much taking place between now and November elections? I don't think so. He's in a campaign mode. He's fighting for his policies. He's fighting for his people. What do you think? Are we ready for the consequences of this drumbeat towards war between Israel and Syria? Are we prepared? Do we understand exactly what we're getting into? How many innocent lives will be lost? Is there any peaceful resolution that we've not come up with? Does someone out there have the magical words to bring about permanent peace? Or it's just not in the cards? It's not in the prophecy, as someone will say. Conflict and worse conflict. Upheaval and more upheaval. Yes, I think about these issues because, let me tell you, they impact us all. There's no place sacred anymore. It's just not. And everyone wants to be a superpower. One of the reasons why people want nuclear armament is because It gives them the title of a superpower. Yes, that's what it does. But I predict that there will be a very different world 10 years from now. It'll be a different world. Absolutely. I didn't say it would be a better world, but it will be a different world. Life is about constant change. How you adjust to that change. How you become better as a result of that change. That's life. You're constantly adjusting and readjusting. Some of us don't always understand the things that happen and encompasses our lives. But the great thing about time makes all things eventually clear to us. Whether we're blind or not, time answers all riddles. I hope we can avert a disaster in the Middle East. I hope we can. I hope we can slow down the drum beats of war and conflict. I hope we can. Our phone lines are open. I'm just in one of those talking places today. I'm thinking about my country and thinking about my beloved Israel. I've spent so much time there. It's a very special place. If you haven't gone, I encourage you to go. I also encourage you to go to Lyford Hills in Paradise, Bahamas, where you can own a piece of paradise. 242-677-3121. 31211 is the number. And you know, I can't see a lick. Oh yeah, 3120 and 3121. I can't see a lick without my glasses. I am truly nearsighted. But anyhow, when we come back on the Armstrong Williams Show, Michael Cutler will be our special guest to talk about immigration and what can, if anything, can be done about it. Is your economy getting better? Are you seeing improvements around you? Do you think things are better than they were a year ago? Are you better off now than you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Do you see potential for your children in this economy? Do you see your ability to make a decent living and make the necessary costs to keep your home and your job and whatever else you have to do to survive? Life is no crystal stair, I can tell you that. It has as many ups as it does down, but life is fair. I can honestly say that life has been more than fair and generous to me. I have no complaints about life, but it seems like so many other people can't get it right. Maybe it's where you grew up, but not everybody grew up in those type of environments and come to this country and make a mint, do very well, build many institutions. When we come back, Mike Cutler will be joining us. I'm Armstrong Williams on the Armstrong Williams Show. Don't go away, and we will be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
I'm working 2 jobs and my husband works too. My kids go to school with your kids. I sit next to you at PTA meetings. We live right next door. We've been neighbors for years. You know my family and me pretty well, but here's one thing you don't know. I'm one out of every 6 Americans, and my family is struggling with hunger. Like you, we believe in this country. What's hard to believe is in the land of milk and honey, how many hardworking Americans have to choose between paying bills and feeding their families. This is a problem with a solution. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 7 meals for those around you quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Teach me another one, Dad.
Okay. A chick in a car and a car won't go. That's the way to spell Chicago.
Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong-Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong-Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Lee, you have a comment?
The thing about call again. I like to say that, I was downtown here and taking care of some business, and I happened to stick my head up in the unemployment office. And I'm telling you, it was packed out.
Really?
It was like, yeah, it was, I guess you would say, standing room only. And here they talking about news about some unemployment rate going down. I can't see it. I don't know what they're talking about. I'm afraid to say that we have spin machines and propaganda right here in the United States. It just looked bad, and it just made me be so thankful to to have a job, to be working. I'd rather work than have than get an unemployment check. That's for sure. But it looked real sad though. The place was packed. It was packed out.
Wow.
And then you hear, and what gets me is that, they talk about some unemployment number going down. I don't know what they're counting on or what. I know sometimes they just say things just to try to make things seem, nice on the news, in my opinion. They're not telling the truth.
But you're not buying into it.
No, definitely. And that's why I tell different ones, because as you know, I'm not a supporter of the president. But just like I told some guys, and they acknowledged that, hey, come hook or crook, whether you want to blame him or hold his feet at the fire or not, that he will be held responsible. Because if times were good, definitely they're going to take the credit. Whether it's a Democrat or Republican, they'll take credit. They'll blow the trumpet. Yada yada yada. Or when it's bad, and then you're in there for 4 years, and then say what have you done? What have you done? Even though the president doesn't have a track record of a big businessman or anything like that, but he has access to brilliant minds to help him to make the right decision to do something to improve the economy. And all this money that has been spent hasn't brought forth much fruit, in my opinion.
All right, Lee, thank you for sharing that with us. I see our guest, Michael's holding. Michael, just stay right there. We're coming right to you. Miss Paulette, you have a comment. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I called to encourage you because you sound so low, and I don't want you to feel dismayed or discouraged because the Bible said all of this will come to pass.
Miss Paulette.
Miss Paulette,
wait a minute. I got no sleep. I got no sleep from the Super Bowl weekend. It has nothing to do with this show. I partied hard this weekend. It was my birthday yesterday. I partied hard.
Well, happy birthday to you, sir. Just think, you lived another year, you saw another birthday, and just think, don't lose heart because the Bible predicted all of these things. It's in the Bible. But you have a faith beyond the grave. If you have a faith beyond the grave, just understand, we got to live right. We got to be the light of the world. And so when you're the light of the world, you don't lose hope because the hope is in glory, and the hope is Jesus Christ. And so when you have that hope, we got to pray. The Bible says, if my people which are called by my name, if we just humble ourselves and pray. He's talking about his people. He ain't talking about them heathens now. He's talking about his people. If we pray and we understand, and God will give us comfort through his word. And so don't be disheartened because it's your birthday, buddy.
No,
it's your birthday week.
I am worn out.
Then you can't find your glasses, but that's all right. You're able to see as far as you can see, so
that's
you
right.
still got your sight. Thank
But
the Lord for that too.
But I didn't use it as an excuse. I still came to the radio today.
That's right, and thank the Lord for sight. Just think about the people that's blind and never seen anybody. Think about people that are born blind. So you still are blessed. Don't lose heart. Some of my folks, they get on me for talking up for you. That's because I agree to disagree. That's my thing.
Weird.
I can't always disagree with you because ain't nobody always wrong, just like ain't nobody always right.
Amen to that. But you just gave me the lift. You gave me my pump up. I'm ready now. Thank you, Miss Paulette.
All right. Praise the Lord.
Praise him. Michael Cutler, how are you today, brother?
I am fine, Armstrong. How are you? Happy birthday.
Thank you, brother. I am recovering. I'm a recovering weekend.
It sounds like it. I hear it in your voice.
Oh, yeah, I'm recovering. It's rare for me, but I had a good time. I had a good old time.
That's a good thing to do. You have to celebrate these things, with all the crazy stuff going on. You have to seize the opportunity to enjoy the good stuff, too.
What kind of impact will Congressman Gifford have on the elections in Arizona?
It's an interesting question, and it's really a wild card. She's a Democrat. She's been going with the administration's programs on all these issues. It's especially interesting after what happened with State Senator Pierce, that he was lost by recall, although I don't know if he's planning to run again or not. I know he's doing a radio show now. But it's certainly a very interesting question. My sense about Arizona, having been there and having worked with them on the defense about the lawsuit that was filed against them by the Justice Department, I suspect that we should expect that a Democrat will probably not replace her, but probably a Republican will.
How much of it has to do with the immigration laws there? And who's winning that battle? I think
it has an awful lot to do. Armstrong, when I watch the debates, and I was actually at the debate a couple of weeks ago in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I was given the privilege of addressing the Tea Party convention. It was an amazing opportunity to stand before the convention for about 25 minutes and provide my perspectives on immigration. But if you look at all of the debates, they talk about national security. This gentleman, Lee, who spoke just now, talks about unemployment. They talk about national security and crime and so forth. Immigration isn't separate and apart from those challenges, but it's an integral part of those challenges. In Arizona right now, they're facing an average of a kidnapping or home invasion each and every day just in Phoenix, the state capital. And most of those crimes are directly related to the drug cartels operating in Mexico. So how can you possibly ignore immigration? And with all the talk from the politicians about how, well, we've got to create jobs, I have yet to hear a single politician talk about the need to liberate jobs. And you liberate the jobs by enforcing the immigration laws that are designed to protect American workers and American jobs. And yet none of the Republicans are talking about it, really. I mean, the closest that I've been hearing seems to be from Mitt Romney, but it's always this thing, we're going to create the jobs, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, why don't we start with fundamentals? The Labor Department used to be in charge of enforcing and administering the immigration laws prior to the Second World War. Many people don't know this. And the reason for it was out of a concern that if you flooded the labor market with lots of foreign workers, you would drive down wages and ultimately cost Americans their lives. By enforcing the immigration laws, we created the middle class. It's not just immigrants that built America. It was the American dream of getting that education, acquiring that trade or that special skill, working hard, being diligent, being creative, and being successful. And now we are ripping that right out from under us by importing as many foreign workers as possible, and not just the illegals, Armstrong. Look at the H-1B visa programs. We're bringing in scientists, engineers, technicians. We're ignoring American kids of every race, religion, and ethnicity in this country so that corporations can fatten their bottom lines. And these aren't even American companies for the most part. They're multinationals. They only say a pledge of allegiance to the bottom line, not to Old Glory. Am I crazy?
No, but how much interest do we really have in these multinational companies, and say so?
No, we don't have an interest in them unless you own stock in the company. They like to say we're American, but if they're building factories overseas, if they're importing foreign workers into the United States, if they're not paying American taxes, other than the name, what makes those companies American? You see my point?
You know, you just got to sit and you just think it through. But you know what? Is there anybody out there that can change this? Because this is going to come back, not to just bite us, it's going to swallow us up.
Yeah, it is going to swallow us up. And we need to have the American people get off their rear ends and show as much enthusiasm and concern that we saw yesterday at the Super Bowl. We need to have the Americans understand, yeah, the Super Bowl is fine, that's dessert. But the main course is what the people that we hire to represent us, because that's what an election is. It's a job interview, and it's the decision by the board of directors, we the people, as to who we want to put in those positions to represent our best interests. How are our best interests being represented when people like Alan Greenspan can go before Chuck Schumer's Immigration Subcommittee April 30th of 2009 and talk about how Americans are getting too much money, that we've made a privileged elite out of Americans with skills or education?
Do you actually believe that?
I've been hammering this issue for the longest time. For those of you out there listening, please, I always like to say that democracy is not a spectator sport. It really isn't. We need to match the valor of our armed forces, of our troops overseas, fighting, laying their lives on the line, coming home wounded, or God forbid, not coming home at all. But we sit around and we talk about the Super Bowl, and we talk about baseball and Dancing with the Stars, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with entertainment. But how can you be entertained when your house is on fire? And this house is on fire. And you know what's remarkable, Armstrong? I was listening to what you were saying about Iran. Very disturbing. And there are Iranian shock troops, they call the Quds, stationed right now as we speak in Venezuela, with more coming on a routine basis. There are terrorist training camps in the tri-border region of Brazil, and that's where Brazil abuts with Argentina and Paraguay. Terrorists from Hezbollah, Hamas, probably Al-Qaeda. And if you have people from the Middle East living in Latin America over an extended period of time, where they can acquire the language facility and a working knowledge of the countries that they're living in, they could easily pass themselves off as being from Latin America. We have a border between Mexico and the United States that serves as little more than a speed bump. We have narcotics spreading throughout the United States, funding terrorism as well as crime. We have the food police jumping up and down about salt and sugar. Oh, my God, too much salt in the French fries, we're obese. Yeah, I agree with that. But why have we not seen a single public service announcement in years warning people, especially young people, about the perils to be associated with the other white powders, cocaine and heroin and meth and crack and all this other garbage that destroys young lives and destroys our country? We are consuming tons of this garbage.
Hold that, folks. Michael Cutler, we're coming back. Don't go away. Michael Cutler's our guest. Mr. Immigration himself. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
The Armstrong Williams Show.
Join us on Tuesdays for the Armstrong Williams Show, where we explore the global economy with guest commentator Terry Giles. That's on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WGCV 620 AM.
WGCV, where knowledge is power.
That's
High
right.
Point
Not
University
once.
has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
To travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com. For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Michael Cutler, is there a model in the world with the country and the leadership that does the best job of tackling and doing real meaningful immigration reform?
Yeah, I would say probably Israel, because they understand the nexus between immigration and national security. I had the privilege of working with the Israeli National Police over the greater part of my career with the INS. Back in 1976, I stumbled upon a plot to blow up an Israeli oil refinery by terrorists. We were able to prevent the attack. So as you might imagine, from that day on, pardon me, we had a marvelous relationship. In fact, I will never forget the night of 9/11. That night, while my neighbors were wandering in the street crying, and I can't even tell you what was going on here because they didn't know where their wives or their kids or their parents were. I got a call that night from one of the Israeli police generals who had been assigned to the consulate in New York, the Israeli consulate, and for a period of 3 years we worked very closely together. He called me up and literally reduced me to tears when he asked me what they had done to our New York. And in that moment, there was no distance separating us, even though he was sitting in his home in Tel Aviv, I was sitting in my house in Brooklyn. They get it. In fact, after we were attacked in 93, not once but twice, first at the World Trade Center, but the month before that, a guy by the name of Kansi, a Pakistani national, who had gotten political asylum by committing immigration fraud, he lied on his application, repaid our generosity by standing outside the CIA with an AK-47 and wound up killing 2 CIA officers, wounding 3 others, and then fled the country. And then, of course, we had the first attack on the Trade Center. There was a meeting held in Washington that the Israelis and the Germans and the Brits and several of our closest allies attended. One of those people was the general who had been assigned to the Israeli police at the consulate in New York. He said, let's have lunch. We need to talk. He said, the United States is talking about what they want to do by the year 2000. This was in 1993. He said, don't your people understand? He said, we love America. Every Israeli wants to believe that America is its big brother. We're Americans at heart. We love America. But your people are naive. They don't get it. He said, the terrorists are targeting your country. And if they don't react quickly, more people are going to die. He said, you can't talk about 7 years and national security in the same sentence. He said, in Israel, when we identify a threat, they want to know, what are you going to do when you walk out of the room when the meeting is over? Maybe they'll give you a month or two if we're dealing with building buildings and acquiring airplanes. Maybe 6 months, but not 6 years. He said, the way you're proceeding, the way America is proceeding, you are inviting a catastrophe. And look what happened on 9/11. See, they have a sense of immediacy, of purpose. We're just wandering around. When you can have the Secretary of Homeland Security, and I'm so frustrated I've come to call DHS, the Department of Homeland Surrender. When Janet Napolitano can tell us that our borders are secure, I need an air sickness bag. How secure is secure enough when in the last 4 years since Felipe Calderon took office, 45,000 Mexican citizens have been slaughtered by the cartels? I was in El Paso working with a law firm as an expert witness. I was in a hotel room about a mile or two from the border that separates the United States from Ciudad Juarez. And my room faced south, so I could see the border from one of the very top floors of this hotel. And every night for the 8 days that I was in El Paso, you saw a gathering of red lights at one place on the border or another, and I know what was going on there. These were murder scenes.
Should we have ever created a Homeland Security Department?
Not the way they've configured it, no. No. And I think it was done because they had that female FBI agent come forward, talk about how they didn't go after the flight schools. I think that President Bush wanted to create, it's all about illusions. I mean, I think the ideal candidate would be, some magician, so we'd at least get a professional illusionist in the Oval Office. The idea of taking immigration and watering it down with customs and then dividing up components of immigration into separate agencies is crazy. In fact, I had made a suggestion that they were going to follow, and then they created DHS. The suggestion I had made to the subcommittee back when I was working with Lamar Smith, who now chairs the House Judiciary Committee, was what I called the Bureau of Immigration Enforcement, the BIE. And you would have the inspectors, the investigators, the agents, and the Border Patrol under one roof working in close cooperation with one another, and the deportation officers. I called it the tripod approach. And it seemed that it was going that route. And then, lo and behold, they created the Department of Homeland Surrender, primarily run by people that came from customs. There are some legacy immigration people, but customs is a world of difference from immigration. Customs used to be under the Treasury Department because their focus is collecting revenue, and they're worried about the movement of money and material across borders. Immigration's concern is people.
Well, how can they do the best job and be effective at the same time? What is it they need to implement?
Well, what they need to implement is a political will to understand that the immigration laws are not minor. When the woman who's charged with enforcing our immigration laws and securing our borders, and I'm talking again about Ms. Napolitano, can talk about how it's not a big deal to run the border, I want to get up and yodel. The immigration laws are among the most important laws that we enforce, not because it was my job for 30 years, but because I've come to understand that you can't protect our country when you have millions of people in our country whose true identities, backgrounds, and intentions are unknown and unknowable. If you look at the law, and by the way, if you go to my website, and I just want to make sure I put it out there, it's Michael Cutler, C-U-T-L-E-R, michaelcutler.net. I also write for a great organization called CAPS, Californians for Population Stabilization. Their website is capsweb.org. I was with them in California a couple of weeks ago talking about these very same issues. If you look at the immigration laws, they're supposed to keep out of our country people with dangerous communicable diseases, aliens who suffer from mental illness and are prone to violence, or the sex offenders, convicted felons, human traffickers, drug smugglers, gang members, war criminals, human rights violators, spies, terrorists, and so forth. If you don't think those are important laws, then you should not be in charge of the Department of Homeland Security. Am I nuts?
Absolutely. There's no question about that. It just makes you think when you just think about it in one context and everything is started on a big screen for you. In other words, these politicians are making little effort to resolve this issue.
No, they don't want to resolve it, and you have a president who says, I'm going to give employment authorization to hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens. Now, what Lee just said earlier about the unemployment offices is true. And when they talk about creating jobs, they don't distinguish some guy working for minimum wage in a factory or in a fast food joint over some guy who's a mechanical engineer or a doctor or a scientist or a chemist. They just call them jobs. Well, all jobs are not created equal. So you have a president who says, we're going to grant employment authorization to hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens. Well, if you do that, you're putting those illegal aliens on an equal footing in that line for a job where so many Americans now stand desperate for a job so that they don't lose their homes to foreclosure. And as more homes are foreclosed, the more homes that get dumped on the market, the more that prices of homes get devaluated, and you wind up with more empty houses. And if you're in a community with lots of abandoned homes, that further puts downward pressure on the price of houses, and you're in a death spiral. If you want to break the spiral, we've got to be able to draw a distinction between what it is to be a U.S. citizen and what it is to be an alien. And it's not about being mean-spirited. It's not about being racist. And when you hear this nonsense, well, we can't possibly win an election if we don't pander to the Latino vote, why would anyone suspect that lawful immigrants from Latin America or U.S. citizens of Latin American ancestry would want to have the same laws that their families abided by ignored and trampled upon by people who come here and pose a threat to everyone's safety and well-being. I don't believe there's any real truth to that assertion, but they keep repeating this nonsense that you can't get Latinos to vote for you. If you're a leader, you should be going out there and explain why the laws are important, explain how this is our first line of defense against criminals and terrorists, about getting Americans to work, about getting Americans into the colleges. That's what's needed. But instead, what we have are people that pander to the folks with the big checkbooks. Look at these super PACs and the kind of money. I think it's a toxic environment.
Let's take a call, Michael. Let's take a call. Christopher, go ahead. You have a comment.
Yes. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Thanks for the call, Christopher.
All right. Thank you for taking my call. I just wanted to make an observation. It has been my observation that the jobs that a lot of illegal immigrants are taking are not jobs that are contributing to the unemployment rate. There are a lot of those jobs that a lot of Americans just don't even want to take. So I honestly don't see how that is a true statement that all of those jobs, this high unemployment rate, is because of illegal immigrants taking the jobs of Americans. A lot of those jobs that they're taking, they don't even qualify for as far as what's going on with the unemployment.
Let me answer your point on 2 points real quickly. As an agent, before I went over to the Drug Task Force, I spent about 8 or 9 years in the squad where we went after people that were working illegally. The factory jobs, and we raided the factories very often the next day, there would be lines of American citizens looking for those jobs, and it was before the bottom fell out. We're talking many years ago. Even today, if you look at the jobs that were freed up when they raided meatpacking plants and so forth, the following day, the line of American workers wrapped around the block. If you legalize illegal aliens, if the premise is that illegals do the work Americans won't do, and I don't believe that. I believe it's that they will work under conditions and for wages Americans wouldn't tolerate. That's the difference. But if you legalize them, now they have no reason to be exploited because you've legalized them de facto, so they are now as qualified to take any job as anyone else. And by the way, I can tell you that I've arrested people working illegally in the United States who were making more money than I was earning, who had professional jobs and violated the visa process. There's this mistaken notion that if you're an illegal alien, all you're doing is mowing lawns. And the other problem is that very often we have the gangbangers who would mow lawns during the day or work in the supermarket bagging groceries, and then at night they'd be hanging out committing crime with the gangs they were involved with.
Guys, we're out of time.
It says that 1.4 million gang members are in America, and if only a third of them were illegal aliens, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of violent gang members.
Christopher, thank you. Michael Cutler will join us again on the Armstrong Williams Show, 6 p.m. Michael, thank you. We look forward to talking to you later on.
Thanks for having me on. I'll see you in a little bit. Thank you.
Take everybody from the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Don't curse, speak English. Armstrong. Virtuous society. Armstrong. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong. Elevate your mind. Armstrong. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side. Armstrong. Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers. Armstrong. The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
for Nancy, for being on the phone. Oh, man, it was just good hearing from you, man. You have no idea what the PTA Day is. You have no idea. I just wanted you to know that. I'm telling you, man. That was important to me. So what are you working on today? Oh, you do. So you gotta let me know when I can come up and hang out with you. You know, I'm on the air, but we have studios in New York, so I can do. I just want to talk, and I want to catch up. Now, when is your birthday? Yeah, now I'm serious, you gotta let me know. Or either I'll come to Philly and hang out. I'm serious. And listen, Saturdays and Sundays are always perfect for me because football is over. Who are you rooting for? Who's your team? Who's your team? Oh, I can definitely hear this thing, please. That you live in New York. So, but anyhow, I know you got people waiting for you. But let me know, man, because I want to come up. All right? All right, man. All right, bye. Anthony, where's the banner?
I can't understand.
Where is the banner? The banner that goes on the website for Lifer.
It's on the website, man, and I sent it to you in an email earlier, first thing this morning.
No, I understand that. I loved it, but I'm on right side wire and I don't see it.
It's under advertising. Scroll down on the right-hand side. You're not going to see it all the time. Different ones pop up.
Okay. Where are you?
Boy, finishing up work.
What do you mean? They tell me you're not even in town.
Too many brought up things back. I've been working all day. I'll tell you that lie.
Ken.
So I'm going for Super Bowl. Just
watching?
Yeah, I was Super Bowl.
That was excellent.
That was it. Big crowd was it?
Oh, huge.
Well, I know it was. I know that was a big one. I know that was a big one. I wish I could have been with you. We could have been with you.
No, you don't.
Alright. I'm so many text many people.
Yeah, Bruce.
Well, I know that from my car. I don't know what I would have seen that car. Sorry. I know that from my car. Y'all real busy.
Yeah.
Before we bury some people. Now, we booked up all the way to Friday, and the day just Monday. That ain't no lie, all the way to Friday. But that's where it is. That's where the ball bounces.
How much money you spent this weekend?
I didn't spend no money this weekend, no more than gas.
So what did you say?
Huh?
What did you say?
Girlfriend.
details, confidential, just email it to me. I was supposed to have gotten that to them today by 5, but they'll get it tomorrow morning. I just need you to send that to me. I know you have it in a format. What do you like the letter to be, and then what are the issues? That's what they need to see. What the letter should be, and what are the issues. That's the best they could do, which is not bad. Just that they asked me, they wanted to talk to us. Right. Because I'm not trying to get Michael, I'm not trying to get your lawyers. I just want to get it from you. Because there's so much confusion going on here. I just need you to lay that out and send it to me. Okay?